Hey guys, what is going on? And welcome back to my Halloween Horror Reviews 2021. I hope y'all enjoyed my review of Resident Evil. Moving on with today's review, I'm going to be talking about one of the better installments of the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, and that is Wes Craven's New Nightmare, the 7th installment of the franchise, written and directed by, well, Wes Craven. Oh my god, 7 installments of Nightmare on Elm Street. Well, 8 if we want to talk about that fucking movie. In Wes Craven's New Nightmare, we follow Heather Langenkamp playing herself as essentially after her film role in the franchise has supposedly concluded, and after she has transitioned into a career into television, she has now had a husband, she has a kid. But even after her film role in the franchise has supposedly concluded, as of recently in her life, she has been dealing with some very strange things. Like, for example, she's been having these strange dreams, especially after she has woken up from a very bad dream on what seemed like to be a set of a new Nightmare on Elm Street film. She's been receiving weird phone calls from a person that sounds just like Freddy Krueger, and basically strange things are happening not only to her, but to also her kid. And she also finds out that Wes Craven is writing a brand new script, but at the same time, she finds out that when Wes Craven is writing the script, his script starts bleeding into real life, and that includes Freddy Krueger himself. Alrighty guys, so let's get into Wes Craven's New Nightmare.
Damien!
Man, Wes Craven's New Nightmare. Can I just come out again and say that this movie just rules and it still holds up so well to this day, 20-something years later. Oh my god, 20. Just saying that makes me feel freaking old, and I'm only 28. And oh my god, I just realized I'm about to make myself even older with what I'm about to say. Back in 2011, when I restarted this channel, I did a little series called the Halloween Horror-thon where I reviewed 31 days straight of horror films, and if I remember right, I believe I did review this movie, but obviously, due to copyright stuff, I had to delete the review, unfortunately. But I remember that back in the day when I rewatched the film for that horror-thon, I absolutely loved New Nightmare. And for me, it's my second favorite Nightmare on Elm Street film. And man, I gotta say, despite this film being over 20 years old, New Nightmare holds up so well. I do have my issues with this film, which I'll talk about later, but for the most part, New Nightmare is really a smart movie within the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. Performances-wise, I mean, the main 3 performances here, Heather Langenkamp, Robert Englund as usual, and also Myco Dixon. I am muffing up so many names. Give me one more second here. I was way off. Holy crap. Myco Hughes. That's who plays Dylan Porter. Myco, I am so sorry. I muff up so many names lately. It is absolutely insane. I love Heather Langenkamp in this movie, and one particular thing that I like about her character in this movie, well, she is playing herself like I mentioned. I imagine that Heather Langenkamp must have brought some type of real life thing from her career into this movie, because here's the thing, I have not followed Heather Langenkamp as an actress after Nightmare on Elm Street, but what I liked even more so is how Wes Craven essentially incorporated most of aspects still of Nancy's character into Heather Langenkamp in this movie. Myco Hughes as Dylan, I thought was really, really good in this movie. There are some tiny issues that I have with this character here, but more than anything else, man, when that kid plays creepy in this movie, especially during some scene in this movie, especially one sequence which creeps me out to this day, when he is watching a sequence from the original Nightmare on Elm Street and when he freaks out and his dialogue afterwards, it legitimately makes me shiver in my seat. But when he plays creepy, oh my god. But if anything, what is Nightmare on Elm Street known for? Freddy fucking Krueger. And man, Robert Englund is so good in this movie. I have not seen every Nightmare on Elm Street film, and if you have seen those movies, you will know that, I mean, I looked up his performances throughout the franchise. Starting in Nightmare on Elm Street 1, he was very menacing, but at the same time, he had this very comical perspective. Not only perspective, but he had this comical side to him, which I really, really enjoyed, making him a really fun screen presence. From what I read up, as the films went along, he got more and more and more comical, even though I love him in Dream Warriors. I love how Robert Englund portrays Freddy Krueger in this movie. He's way more menacing, way more sinister, and my god, is he maniacal in this movie. When it came to the original design of Freddy Krueger, Wes Craven had something else in mind. But with Wes Craven's New Nightmare, Wes Craven decided to go back to the concept of what he originally wanted Freddy Krueger to look like. And I will say, for the most part, Robert Englund as Freddy Krueger, my word. I think that for the most part, Freddy Krueger has never looked more frightening, especially how his face looks. He looks like, legitimately, he looks like a fucking demon in this movie. The way he looks at a character, his eyes, and there are some shots where he legitimately scares the shit out of me. Another thing that I absolutely loved about Wes Craven's New Nightmare is not only the script of the film, but also the concept of this film. This film technically does take place in a much more real world. This movie is a meta slasher film. Now, one thing I do have to give credit is this. Wes Craven's New Nightmare is not the first meta horror film. If I remember correctly, I did my research on this. I made sure to not look like an idiot. If I did my research correctly, the first meta horror film was a film called Peeping Tom, a film that I have not seen and I need to see it now just talking about it. I do think that was the first meta slasher film once again. If I am wrong, I'll put the first one right here. But still, I love how Wes Craven takes the meta concept and applies it to Nightmare on Elm Street, and even more so, the concept works so well that in a way, you can look at this film as a predecessor to Scream, to which, coincidentally, Wes Craven did direct but not wrote. Another thing that I absolutely love about this film's script is not only how smart it is, but how Wes Craven sets up certain things, including lines of dialogue, and how certain things pay off near the end. There is a scene near the beginning of the film where Heather is reading a Hansel and Gretel story to her son Dylan, and there is a specific line of dialogue that pays off near the end of the film, and as I was watching this film, I just thought, whoa, wait a second. I thought that was such a brilliant way of paying off her reading that story to her son Dylan as she's trying to find Dylan and reclaim him from Freddy Krueger, and I just thought, this is freaking brilliant. Something else that I absolutely love about Wes Craven's New Nightmare is how Wes Craven homages certain kills from previous Nightmare on Elm Street films, specifically the original film and Dream Warriors. If you guys have not somehow seen Dream Warriors, watch it, but especially the original film, to which, I mean, come on, if you're a horror fan and if you haven't seen the original Nightmare on Elm Street, what the hell are you doing? Tina's death in the original film, and now he homages that with the babysitter's death in this movie. It's not quite as scary as it was in the original film, but the fact that Wes Craven is able to bring a whole new stamp onto it is really, really nice. And actually, if you go into movie clips on YouTube, you will notice the title is a strange, it's like a familiar thing with the title or something like that. Another thing I gotta talk about Wes Craven's New Nightmare, the special effects makeup. Oh, shit, that's so good! There is one effect that I was blown away when I was rewatching it. It is the effect near the film when Freddy is trying to eat Dylan. That fucking face! This face right here, it looks incredible! But in terms of the horror of Wes Craven's New Nightmare, Wes Craven's New Nightmare is a much more freaky movie with really creepy sequences than way more of a in-your-face scary movie like the original was. Now, this is both a good thing and a bad thing. I'll talk about the bad later on with my cons, but really when it comes to the good, I will definitely say that when it comes to creeps, Wes Craven nails those creepy scenes really, really well, and there are sequences that generally do freak me out. One of my absolute favorite scenes of this movie is how in the third act, how things slowly transition from what looks like to be the real world and into back to not only into a dream world, but back into the world of Nightmare on Elm Street. I love this sequence so much. Heather is talking to her father's character within the films, and he says, wait, why are you calling me John? And I just thought, what's going on here? And then you notice very subtle things changing up. If you look very closely in the background of the sequence, everything is in the real world at first, but then you hear John's character basically saying, I love you, Nancy, and you just think, wait a second, this is not going where you think it's going. The camera goes into more of a wider shot. You see a very familiar street, Elm Street. The camera looks around and you see Elm Street once again with the original theme playing, although it's slightly remixed. And my God, I gotta tell you guys, when I saw the sequence recently, I got chills. I'm getting chills just talking about it right now. And the third act of this movie is absolutely incredible, and how it essentially goes into really not Freddy Krueger's world, but as they call him, the entity's world. This entire part of Wes Craven's New Nightmare is so damn good, and the film's ending just Chef's kiss right there. Just what a great ending this film's ending is.
Happy parents, you old fuck!
Does it quite make it to the heights of the original film? In my eyes, it doesn't quite make it there. There's a couple of things about Wes Craven's New Nightmare that I'm a bit mixed on. Something that I was mixed on when it came to this movie is Robert Englund's Freddy Krueger. Not his performance, because his performance is freaking phenomenal. It's his design. I completely get that Wes Craven wanted to go back to his original design, which I think is great, but there's two things about the original design that just don't really work with me personally. One thing is the trench coat. The trench coat doesn't really quite work with Freddy Krueger. Like, if they would have taken off that trench coat, his design would have worked just as well. Also, the claws. The use of bones to make it more of an organic design, I personally prefer the original design, the original film. I just think it looked way better. In terms of the actual scares, nothing about this movie terrifies me like the original film does. Michael Hughes, who plays Dylan, I thought for the most part did a great job. There are small things about his performance that just didn't quite work for me, but for the most part, he was great, do not get me wrong. So overall, Wes Craven's New Nightmare is not only a great 7th installment of the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, but it is also a great finale of the franchise until for some reason they decided to remake. Oh my god, I hate that movie so much. While I do think that there are a few small things that I have issues on, including one particular thing that I'm a bit mixed on, nonetheless, those things don't overshadow the fact that this movie is a great installment, and not to mention it holds up over 20 years later. All in all, I'm going to give Wes Craven's New Nightmare a 4.25 out of 5 stars. If you guys haven't seen this movie yet, and if you're a big Nightmare on Elm Street fan, please check this movie out. It is so good. So comment down below and let me know, out of all the installments of this franchise, which one is your favorite? Let me know below. If you guys want to follow me on social media, I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch. I'm also on Snapchat, so if you want to follow me on all those social media platforms, all the links in the usernames in the description below. I hope you guys enjoyed my review of Wes Craven's New Nightmare. If so, please hit that like button, also subscribe, and don't forget to hit that notification bell whenever the latest video of mine goes live. If you guys want to see it in my previous 2 reviews, please click on the right there or there. And of course, until my next installment of my Halloween Horror Reviews 2021, I'll see you all next time.